Now, even though we are still quite a bit away from the next version update, it might be worth considering the potential rerun banners that are dropping before we do enter the second phase of version 2.0, especially since I suspect a lot of players are intending to pick up either Jufufu or Caesar, which may lead to being unprepared for the insane potential of our 2.1 banners. As for the rerun banners dropping alongside Yuzuha and Alice, it's quite likely the case that we will finally be seeing the return of none other than Miyabi and Yanagi, considering both Yuzuha and Alice are normally dedicated characters, alongside the fact that the only characters left to receive a rerun prior to version 1.6 are Miyabi, Yanagi, Harumasa, and Evelyn. With that said, there is a chance that Evelyn may return instead, more so due to the fact that she does synergize very well with Jufufu. However, again with Yuzuha and Alice revolving around the anomaly archetype, it would then make more sense for Miyabi and Yanagi to return in 2.1. So with that, I'll be going over the value both Miyabi and Yanagi hold within their kits, whether or not their signature W engines are worth picking up, then I'll be wrapping it up with their overall value and if they are still priority picks for your account. As always, if you're interested in more ZenlessZoneZero content, would very much appreciate it if you could subscribe and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Kicking this off with arguably still the queen of DPS, Miyabi without a doubt is one of the best characters you could have on your account. Considering her insane damage output, incredibly easy to play combat, great AoE capabilities to clear hordes of enemies, and despite being an anomaly DPS that utilizes crit stats, which may at first lead to the impression that she will be a bit tricky to build around, Miyabi is in fact quite versatile as she can be paired up with numerous characters. In addition, Miyabi does have her own unique element being Frost, which really isn't much different to the Ice attribute given both elements do trigger the same effects, although it does allow for both Frost and Ice to build up their own anomaly attribute to then trigger Disorder, essentially ensuring Disorder will be triggered regardless of the team composition. Now specifically regarding Miyabi's combat, she is in fact one of the only few characters that has a very unique dash, since she essentially flash steps whilst covering a ton of ground, and in doing so, it pretty much allows her to be more difficult to touch and can avoid many more attacks in comparison to most characters. Alongside that, Miyabi as mentioned has incredible damage output since she can cleave through all content without much difficulty. But perhaps most importantly will be the simplicity behind the insanely powerful abilities. Pretty much like having a gauge mechanic, Miyabi can hold up to a max of 6 Fallen Frost stacks, which are accumulated through various abilities such as the EX Special Attack, Ultimate, whenever Miyabi triggers Frostburn and whenever a squad member triggers Disorder. Upon reaching max stacks, Miyabi can then unleash her charged attack that consumes all Fallen Frost in exchange for a massive amount of damage alongside insane AoE. That, along with activating the ultimate whenever you can, would be Miyabi's go-to abilities, both dealing incredible damage and providing a few opportunities to quickswap to other characters. Of course, those other characters would range from Yanagi, Vivian, and Burnice, but also Lighter and Lycan are viable to utilize within a hypercarry composition. So with having incredible animations alongside multiple powerful abilities and great team versatility, Miyabi certainly has held the position within the meta as the best overall DPS. Now Yanagi on the other hand may not be as valuable as Miyabi, but she certainly still is a valuable anomaly DPS herself due to certain factors. The most important factor would be that she quite literally is the queen of Disorder, considering she doesn't exactly need to build up the attribute anomaly gauge to max in order to trigger Disorder, since whenever she does activate the EX Special Attack, it will trigger a special type of Disorder known as Polarity Disorder, which deals 15% of the original Disorder effect's damage alongside an additional percentage of Yanagi's anomaly proficiency. That, alongside the fact that her core passive increases the damage multiplier of Disorder and increases the electric damage from the EX Special Attack, it's clear to see that Yanagi holds a lot of value behind the EX Special Attack in specific, allowing her to switch onto the field to activate the ability and switch off immediately. So she does play incredibly well as a secondary DPS given her low field time requirement to deal considerable burst damage and enhance the team's disorder damage. However, Yanagi can also be utilized as a main DPS within a hyper carry composition or alongside anomaly sub DPS characters. Given her personal damage output is nothing to overlook, and especially due to being able to switch between multiple stances. Those stances in specific won't only change up Yanagi's attacks but will also provide a unique buff for a short duration, meaning that she will constantly switch back and forth between both stances to maintain both buffs, and so would take up quite a bit of field time. That, alongside the fact Yanagi also has great versatility as she can pretty much synergize with most electric characters and anomaly characters, it means most players at whatever state their account is in wouldn't find much difficulty in building a team for Yanagi, although it goes without saying that she is certainly best utilized when alongside Miyabi, which is a shame for those that don't have either, since it will be next to impossible to pick up both alongside Yuzuha if you are free to play. However, if you are one of those players that didn't pick up Yanagi before Miyabi, only then to find out she is the best anomaly DPS to pair with Miyabi, her potential rerun in 2.1 will then be a golden opportunity to finally form the strongest anomaly duo. In regards to the returning signature W engines, before anything it goes without saying that they will of course be the best W engines for Miyabi and Yanagi since they are tailor-made. Although with Miyabi in specific, considering she is a crit-based anomaly DPS as mentioned earlier, her W engine is in fact a bit more valuable than most limited W engines. With being the only anomaly W engine to provide a crit main stat will already make it more valuable than other anomaly options, but also since the passive increases crit damage by a massive 50% and ice damage up to 40%. So just like a few other characters that will scale off a specific stat that is considered out of the norm, Miyabi's signature will be closer to a must-pull W engine than most, and especially since she is a DPS. Of course, there are some alternatives such as the Fusion Compiler being the best W engine aside from the signature, alongside Electro Lip Gloss, Rainforest Gourmet and Weeping Gemini. But they are certainly much less impactful than the signature due to the lack of meaningful buffs. It is fair to mention the fact that Miyabi is capable of dealing a lot of damage herself, which means you can still get by without the signature W engine. But long term and for the later stages within endgame, it will prove its value and will be incredible for Miyabi. On the other hand, with Yanagi's signature W engine, considering she is more of a traditional anomaly character and will scale off the usual stats that alternative W engines will be able to provide, it would firstly mean that her W engine isn't as valuable as Miyabi's, but also that alternative W engines can definitely be utilized and won't be that much worse than the signature. Yanagi's W engine of course will be great since alongside the attack percent main stat, it does increase electric anomaly build-up rate by 30%, anomaly proficiency by 75% and disorder damage by 25%, allowing her damage to pretty much skyrocket as either a main DPS or sub DPS. So paired with the fact that she will most definitely remain to be the best sub DPS for Miyabi at the very least, it means investing into Yanagi and picking up a W engine wouldn't be a bad decision to make, considering Miyabi is surely going to maintain a position amongst the best for a while. So all in all, Miyabi's W engine will be one of the best W engines to pick up considering her unordinary build as an anomaly DPS and when thinking long term. Whereas with Yanagi's it wouldn't be that necessary since alternatives such as the Weeping Gemini, Electro Lip Gloss and the Fusion Compiler work quite well, allowing you to definitely skip if you can't afford it, but it will definitely be a great addition towards Yanagi's overall damage. Overall, both potential rerun banners alongside the new limited characters dropping in 2.1 hold immense value, which may pose as a massive issue towards players that have been drained from the banners in the current version. No doubt the first phase of 2.0 featured some of the most valuable characters for majority of players, but phase 2 may not hold as much, and especially when compared to the next version's banners. Miyabi in specific will definitely be a top priority character given she is quite literally the best overall DPS in the game. Also with Yanagi as mentioned, she is pretty much the best sub DPS for Miyabi and is a strong overall character that can synergize with many other characters. Though above all, since both characters do work together incredibly well, for those that may only have one of them might want to definitely consider picking up the other. Now with all of that said, if you do already have enough DPS characters to clear through all content, they would then be not as necessary for your account. In addition, if you are specifically interested in maximizing the performance of Yuzuha above anything else, then Jufufu in the second phase will of course hold more priority with that in mind. Lastly, if you simply don't care about the anomaly archetype, then version 2.1's banners including the new limited characters will essentially be a massive skip. All in all, those would be some factors to consider for your account when thinking about who to spend your polychromes on within the upcoming banners. As usual, it will depend on the state of your own account. But from a neutral standpoint that will be considering long-term value, the simple fact that Miyabi is still the best DPS overall despite the release of our anniversary character just goes to show her immense value. So if anything, just ensure you have enough to be able to pick up Miyabi if you don't already have her. If you do, then it would be wise to invest in those that will provide her with valuable support such as Yanagi and Yuzuha. But at that point it will come down to preference, and so you can opt to pick up characters such as Jufufu to enhance Yuzuha's performance instead. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe for more ZenlessZoneZero content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also drop a comment down below on whether or not you also believe Section 6 will finally be returning, and with that, which characters are you looking forward to the most within version 2.1? And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.